So we've been talking all about power this month and tuning into power, and that God's power is actually transcendent, this one power. It's not something that we can use or manipulate. Human beings can't take God's power and try to overlord it on other people's power. But what we can do is move into alignment with that power. So we know that, and we can see that, but sometimes we can get overwhelmed by what's happening in the world. I mentioned that today is World Water Day, and one of the reasons why I don't generally forward things about causes, because I grew up in the United Church of Christ, and United Church of Christ is a very cause-oriented organization, religious organization. So all I do is get on their mailing list, and it's just like one thing after another to be praying for and to trying to change, and it's always activism, trying to change the world out there, and it feels like it's never ending and overwhelming. There's so many things, and we can feel like, wow, the government and big corporations and education and the prison system. It goes on, and all the isms. There's just so much to fix out there that we can feel so completely powerless and overwhelmed. So we can say, okay, in the ultimate sense, God is all-powerful, but what we see on this planet just feels like overwhelmingly against what we believe. So it's not to not participate in those things. I believe absolutely we need to participate, and we each need to find where we belong. Sometimes when we hear songs like Dream On and you have shows like American Idol, I think we all feel like we have to have some huge dream that we have to achieve. But the conclusion I finally came to was that I just have to find what I'm here to do, that if everyone does what we were called here to do and move into alignment, we're going to actually find incredible joy and fulfillment from it, and that's what's going to bring us into heaven consciousness. So the words today that I changed in from the Gospel of John, it was really talking about Jesus. But we have to remember in New Thought, and what I believe is that Jesus was the example and not the exception. So we are here to all honor the divinity within us, and that infinite God power is within all of us when we open ourselves and access ourselves to that incredible energy and that power. And if we are going to create heaven on earth, we need to not just meditate and be still and listen. We need to actively participate in the world of what's going on around us, but not from our finite self, from that infinite self. So we start with prayers, first meditation, being still and being silent. But we don't end there. I was sitting there remembering a friend of mine years ago. She was so frustrated. She was dating this guy, and she said, all he does is meditate all day long. I wish he'd do something. And their relationship was not harmonious because if we do anything in so much extreme, we don't actually feel it's being practical and serving the world in which we are living. Now, I do believe there's a place for monastics and who are praying for our world and keeping it going. But unless we are consciously choosing that as a way of life, we are here to participate and bring our flesh, our word and our flesh into form. And what we want to do, though, is do it from the highest vibrational frequency possible. So we start with, as we did this month, recognizing what real power is, getting silent, getting in tune with it, and then we start speaking our word when we come out of that place. So I'm going to give an example of how that looked in my life, and then we'll just do a little thing. So anyway. Okay, so you've heard that I worked in a psychiatric hospital, but I had no intention, or I never even thought of it. It was not even in my realm of possibility. I was a psychology major in college, mostly because I was examining myself, and I was curious about what made me tick, and I wanted to help people. I thought maybe generally of being a therapist, but that was as far as it went, and then I went off to acting school and realized I'm really not an actress. So I did. I used affirmations, the power of mind. Even though I'd never been in acting school, I got accepted into a school in LA and quickly realized within the first semester that I had made something happen with my mind. We are all very powerful. We talked about that. But that wasn't who I was. So I stepped out, but I had no idea what to do with my life. I tried various things, and I hear this with a lot of people. Like, I don't feel like I'm really living my life's purpose. I'm doing a job, and I may be good at it or not good at it, but I'm getting a good salary, and I don't really get what my life purpose is, and I don't have a vision for what my life purpose is. Well, I was in that place. I had no idea. I had no vision of where I was going. So what I did, and I'm not saying to do this, just don't have a reaction, but I spent a month in silence, and I did that only because I really literally had no idea what else to do. I felt like I tried everything and I didn't know what to do. And it was very difficult to be quiet. Don't realize how much we distract ourselves. So what I got by the end of that month, I still had no idea what I wanted to do, but what happened is I got peaceful, I got quiet, and I felt very deeply connected to that one life and one power. And from that place of oneness, I could claim, I said, I know I'm supposed to be participating in the world, and everything in me wants to serve this one power, one presence, but I also know it has to be joyful, or else I won't really be giving from my joy, and I have to be financially taken care of. I didn't want to have to worry about money. I wanted to be focusing on service, not on money, so that had to be taken care of. So I was just clear that those two qualities had to be there. And then I just started listening. Where is it? What is it I'm supposed to do? What can I do? And so then we start speaking. So this is, we talk about prayer, and then I started talking to other people and just say I'm looking around. And a friend of mine I was living in the D.C. area with my dad, and someone I knew years ago was talking to me, and she turned to the mental health advocate, and she said, well, have you ever thought of working in a psychiatric hospital? And the first time she mentioned it, I constricted. I didn't open, or I wasn't even neutral. I constricted. But I was living my life for God. I had been anchored in God. I was keeping those words, God. So even as she's saying it to me, I'm just singing to myself, use me, oh God, I stand for you. And here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. So she gives me the suggestion. I don't know if I really like it. Never even thought of it till she mentioned it. And I didn't like it, but I just surrendered. Use me, you God. Then I happened to be talking to my dad's neighbor, who she has 4 children, and I had taken care of 2 of them 2 summers before. And she was going through a very difficult process. She was leaving her husband. She was divorcing him, and she was a strict Southern Baptist. And so for her and in her church community, she was now doing the devil's work. Satan had gotten a hold of her. She had a little bit of a breakdown, had spent time, she was telling me all this, and she said, and I just spent time at this psychiatric hospital. It's 5 minutes away. You wouldn't even know it's there. And they have a Christian unit on there, and it changed my life, and it was the most incredible experience. You should consider working there. And so then I'm thinking, well, I don't really have any training for that. I mean, I have a BA in psychology, but generally BAs in psychology don't get you very far. So I just, kept my chanting go. I am a radiant light of God. I shine the light of love. And I would go on these walks, and these chants would just go through my head. And all chants is saying, affirming God-oriented language and just singing it over and over and over. So I would just go on these walks. So I'd be moving. I was moving my body, moving the energy, and singing. Still, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Right at that moment, I'm watching the news. They're saying the D.C. metro area, they're laying off tons of people working in the hospitals, that there's something happening in the industry. Big changes are happening, and they have to release all these people. And then I was talking to another neighbor, and I was telling her about this suggestion about working in a psychiatric hospital, and she says, well, they're laying all these people off in hospitals. It's the worst time to get a job. And I just surrendered that. God is real. God is magnificent. God is light. God is love. I just kept going back to God. God is the power of my life. God is what's happening here. And I would sing and sing again. So I went and applied for the job. They basically hired me on the spot. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I started working, and as I would get ready, I would be crying because there was no question that entering into a room full of very pain, in a lot of pain and suffering, you can feel it. If you're attuned at all to other people, you can feel it. And so the energy was just difficult to walk into. So just the whole time I'd be getting ready for work, I would just be crying. And I didn't say, and the whole time I never felt, this is it or isn't it. I didn't feel like I had to say, this is the big vision or this isn't the big vision. I just kept surrendering it. If this is where I'm supposed to be, I'll be. If it's not, I'll just leave. And so I just sing, I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Just singing and saying, I'm here for God. Bringing those vibrational frequencies. Sound is the first way God creates, sound and light. So I'm moving and I'm singing, and just after about 3 weeks of working there, I just suddenly realized I couldn't wait to get to work. That I had found another young woman who worked there. She was like me, sort of upbeat and cheerful. And so we found each other and had a great time. The staff was great. I couldn't wait to see how the people I was connecting with the people that were patients there, and couldn't wait to see how they were doing every day. And it suddenly became like this was my community, and I was in so much joy and happiness, and I thought, oh, this is it, and I'm getting paid for it. I can't believe it. It was like amazing to me that I got a paycheck for doing something that I loved. So here I am. I've moved into a realm that if 6 months earlier, if you said you're going to be working as a psychiatric technician, it wouldn't have I don't even know if it would have registered with me. It was so far outside of my thinking, my reality. I wouldn't have had a vision about it. I wouldn't have had a thought about it because it wasn't any part of my past precedent. If someone else had said it, if I had said it, none of it would have resonated with me. It just wouldn't, there was nowhere inside of me it would have resonated. But God knew. There is this infinite intelligence that knows us better than we know ourselves, that we can't always see. So when we give ourselves to be bold, is to start stepping out and saying, I know that there is this power and this presence that loves me. We are loved beyond our wildest imagination, and it wants me to move into a vibration of service and of light and of joy, that I am doing good for others and where I am in joy. And I can do that, and it is possible, not because I figured it out, not because I know the answers, but because I continue to speak out the word of what's true about who and what God is. You see, as a world that may be looked down upon, and we may not always be able to do that out loud, but we can certainly do it for ourselves. Speak out loud what is true for us, no matter what the situation. And it takes boldness to do it in the areas where we feel the most stuck. There may be some areas in our life that are just flowing. I got this. I know I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, or I know I'm having the right relationship, or whatever. Everything's flowing. But there may be areas in your life where it feels specifically stuck, where we don't really feel that God is real in that moment, in those areas. The most bold thing we can do is say, not only is God in that area, but I am one with God, that I and the life of God are one in this particular stuck area, and to keep claiming that over and over and over again, regardless of the facts of surrounding us. And it's even more powerful if we can have someone join us in that reality. So even the facts, though the facts are saying one thing, two or more gather consciousness, speaking, dancing, singing, being alive in the truth of what we know is absolutely true, and being bold in that, even though it looks crazy. We stand the fact that God is the only reality of life. We want all these other things, all these systems that we want to change. We think they have so much power, but we have to recognize God is more powerful than everything. Whatever the employment statistics are, they were laying off people left and right in hospitals. I got hired like that. God is the only reality. When I hear women say all the time, there's no good men available. That's not a reality in God. God's reality is not limited by statistics. I love the way what Reverend Michael used to say is that the moment we move into alignment with God, we are no longer a statistic. Statistic is for the average mind. And so there are averages of vibrational frequency, but we're here, every one of you. What do we say at the beginning? You're here because you're a lighthouse, because you know the truth of who you are. You know there's an infinite love intelligence within you. Statistics, you transcend that when you move into the oneness of God. One in God is a majority, but you have to speak it out. You can't just think it quietly meditating. That's a first step. We come from aligning ourselves with oneness, but we have to speak it and act in alignment with it. So when this job came to me, I didn't know if it was the right job, but I still took the action. I still took the steps. I still did the training. I kept saying, yes, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I keep surrendering. We take the steps. We live it.